You know those slick little animations in your favorite explainer videos? The title that slides in glowing, the arrow that sweeps across a diagram, the numbers that count up on a chart. It is easy to assume those need expensive software or a paid studio you could never afford. Here is the surprise. A huge number of them are made in a program that is completely free and that most people only know for three-dimensional graphics. Today, I will show you what it can really do for your channel. From clean, flat graphics to ones with real depth, all the way up to full three-dimensional showpieces. And stick around, because the best trick comes near the end. That program is Blender. And yes, it is famous for big cinematic three-dimensional work like spaceships and glossy product shots. So almost nobody thinks of it for the clean motion graphics that sit on top of a normal talking head video. But quietly, it is one of the best free tools on the planet for exactly that. And here's the part that should excite you. It is not just a flat tool. The very same program will give you crisp, flat graphics when you want them. Graphics with a little real depth and lighting when you want them to pop, and full three-dimensional showpieces when you want to show off. One program, the whole range. Before the use cases, hold one simple idea in your head. Everything you will see today lives on a single dial. At one end is flat, clean panels and text that sit right on top of your footage. No fuss. In the middle is depth, the same shapes, but lit with a so they feel solid and modern, instead of like flat stickers. And at the far end is full three-dimensional. Real lights, real reflections, and a camera that can swing around your scene like a movie shot. The wonderful thing is that you do not pick a different program for each. You just turn the same dial. Let us start at the flat end of the dial, because it is where most of your everyday graphics live. Making something look perfectly flat in a three-dimensional program comes down to a few simple tricks. There is a drawing tool that works like a digital pencil, painting clean, flat strokes. There are flat shapes that light up on their own, so you never fuss with lamps or shadows. And there is a straight on-camera angle that keeps everything looking square to the viewer. Draw, glow, and sit flat. That is your bread and butter, lower thirds, titles, and captions, and it is the simplest place to begin. Now nudge the dial toward the middle, and something nice happens. Take that same flat panel, give it just a little thickness, and let the light actually catch its edge. Add a soft shadow underneath, and suddenly it stops looking like a sticker and starts looking like a real, solid object you could pick up. This is the look you see in polished app promos and high-end explainer channels. It feels modern, and the best part is, it costs you almost nothing. It is the very same shape from a moment ago, just standing in real light instead of lying flat. And now push the dial all the way to the far end. Here you get a real three-dimensional scene. Objects that are genuinely round and glossy, catching highlights and reflecting their neighbors. Studio lighting, set up just like a real photo shoot, with a key light, a soft fill, and a rim of light to separate things from the background, and a camera that can slowly orbit the scene, so your viewer actually feels the depth and the space. This is your showpiece shot, the one that makes people stop scrolling. It takes a little more patience to render, but the same skills you already learned still apply. So what actually is the dial? More than anything, it is the camera, plus how you light the scene. Point the camera straight on with flat, even lights, and the exact same objects read as clean two-dimensional graphics. Tilt the camera just a touch and add one soft light, and now you are in that punchy depth zone. Let the camera glide around a fully lit scene, and you are unmistakably in three-dimensional territory. It is one continuous range, and you slide along it shot by shots, depending on how much drama a moment needs. Keep that picture in mind as we go through what you would actually build. Let us get into the real uses, the things you would actually make for your channel. Start with your intro sting. That is the short, punchy little animation that opens every video, usually just your logo with some movement and a sound. 2 to 3 seconds is plenty. The whole point is that it is instantly recognizable, so viewers know they are in the right place. You build it one time, and then you drop it on the front of every upload forever. It is the single highest return thing on this list, because you reuse it on every single video you ever post. Next, title cards and section head. Bold titles that slide or pop on screen with some real weight behind them. And the section breaks that split a long video into clear chapters. They do two jobs at once. They look professional and they keep a longer video feeling organized, instead of like one endless wall of talking. If you have ever watched a video that announces part 1, part 2, part 3, that is exactly this. Easy to template, and you will reach for it constantly. Lower thirds. That is the little name tag that slides into the bottom corner of the screen to tell you who is talking, or where you are, or what the current topic is. The name comes from the fact that it sits in the lower third of the frame. A good one has just a touch of motion, enough to draw the eye for a second, and then it settles and gets out of the way. It should never fight your face or your words for attention. This is one of those small touches that quietly then separates a polished channel from a hobby one. Kinetic typography is a fancy name for a simple idea. It is text that moves and lands in time with what is being said, word by word, so the words themselves become the visual. It is perfect for emphasizing a key line, dropping in a punchy quote, or carrying a moment where you do not have any footage to show. Done well, it feels energetic and intentional, and it keeps the viewer reading along with you. And because it is pure motion and text, you can build it without any video clips at all, which makes it a lifesaver on a tight production. Now we get to my favorite category, explainer diagrams. These are the boxes, stages, and arrows that build up one piece at a time to show how something works. A sign-up flow, how a request travels through a system, the steps of a recipe. The magic here is that the motion itself does the teaching. Instead of dumping a busy diagram on screen all at once, you reveal it in the same order you explain it. So the viewer's eye is always exactly where your voice is. A packet of light travels down the arrows, and suddenly an abstract process feels concrete and alive. Closely related are relationship diagrams. Instead of a straight line, these show how a set of things connect to each other. One central hub fanning out to many followers. A web of ideas linked together. A team and who reports to whom. And this is a perfect example of that dial we talked about. You can keep it clean and flat for a quick explainer, or when you really want to land the point. You can spin it up into a full three-dimensional network that the camera slowly orbits. Same diagram, but now it has presence and people remember it. Here is a category that opens up a whole audience. If you make anything for coders, students, or computer science learners, you can animate the classic data structures, an array filling up cell by cell, a stack where items pile on and pop off the top, a queue where they line up and leave from the front, trees that grow and branch, networks that light up as you walk through them. These are notoriously hard to grasp from a static textbook picture and almost impossible to explain in words alone. But watch one actually move, with each value sliding into place, and it just clicks. This is the kind of content that gets saved and shared. Animated charts, a bar chart where the bars grow up from zero, a line chart that draws itself across the screen from left to right, a single big number that counts up to its final value. The reason these work so well is that a number on its own is forgettable, but a number that moves feels like it means something. You see the growth happen, you feel the comparison, and it sticks. Anytime you are sharing results, statistics, a before and after, or any kind of progress, a chart that animates in will hold attention far better than a flat image ever could. Transitions. These are the wipes and stingers that carry from one shot or one topic to the next. A clean shape that sweeps across and reveals the next scene. A quick branded burst that marks a hard cut. They sound like a small thing, but they do real work. A good transition hides the seam between two clips so the edit feels smooth, and it keeps the energy from sagging in the gaps. Build a couple that match your brand, and your whole video instantly feels more deliberate and more produced, even if nothing else changed. Callouts. These are the arrows and highlight rings that point directly at the thing you are talking about. You are demoing an app and you need people to look at one specific button. You are reacting to a photo and you want to circle one detail. A little animated arrow that draws itself in, or a ring that pulses once around the spot, removes all doubt about where to look. It is the difference between saying "look over here" vaguely and actually putting a glowing marker on the exact pixel. Small effort, and it makes your explanations dramatically end screens. This is the closing frame that sends your viewer useful instead of just letting the video stop dead. A clean animated layout with room for a subscribe, nudge, and refer. A thumbnail or two for what they should watch next. People underrate this, but the last 20 seconds of your video, some of the most valuable real estate you have. Someone who watched to the end is your warmest possible viewer. A polished, animated end screen turns that goodwill into another view, or instead of letting it evaporate. One more, and it is a subtle one. Looping background. This is the soft, slow movement you put behind your titles, your talking points, or a quiet section, so the screen never feels completely frozen. Think gently drifting shapes, a faint shifting glow, or a field of slowly floating particles. It is not meant to be noticed directly. It is meant to make a static moment feel alive and intentional instead of dead air. You build a few seconds that loop seamlessly, and then it can run quietly under anything without you ever touching it again. Now for the part I told you to wait for, the real superpower. Everything I have shown you, you can make by clicking around in the normal way. But this program can also run with no window open at all. No buttons, no timeline. You hand it a set of plain instructions that describe the animation you want, and it quietly builds the whole thing and a dull thing, renders it out for you in the background. This sounds like a small technical detail. It is not. It is the thing that takes you from making one animation at a time by hand to running a real production line. Think about what that actually unlocks. Normally, every animation means opening the program and dragging things around by hand, one keyframe at a time. But if you can describe it in instructions instead, you write the recipe once, and from then on, the computer does the clicking. You are not hand placing anything anymore. And because a recipe runs exactly the same way every single time, you get a level of consistency that is genuinely impossible to hit by hand. Every title in your series lines up perfectly. Every lower third match. That polish is the recipe doing the work. Here is where it gets a little bit magical. Once the computer is doing the clicking, you are no longer limited to making one thing at a time. You can line up dozens of animations at once, all the titles for an entire season, every lower third for a series of interviews, and set the whole batch running before you go to bed. The machine works through the night, render after render, and you wake up to a finished pile of animations waiting for you. The work still takes time, but it is the computer's time now, not yours. That is a completely different way to run a channel. This also solves the consistency problem that plagues every growing channel. Because your animation is a recipe, you can keep the exact look and just swap the words. The same title style, but this episode's title. The same lower third, but this guest's name. Every single video comes out matching the last one automatically, with zero effort spent matching fonts and colors, and timings by hand all over again. Your brand stays tight and recognizable as you scale up, which is exactly when most channels start to drift and look messy. The recipe holds the line for you. And here is my favorite example of the whole idea. Because the animation is built from instructions, you can feed it real data. Point the recipe at a spreadsheet of numbers, and it will build the animated bar chart or line chart for you, sized and timed correctly, without you placing a single bar by hand. Even better, when the numbers change next month, you do not rebuild anything. You just update the spreadsheet and run it again, and out comes a fresh, perfectly matching chart. For anyone who covers data, stats, or results regularly, that alone is worth the price of admission, which, remember, now you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot. Why not just make each animation by hand? And honestly, for one or two pieces, by hand is completely fine. And it is where everyone starts. The recipe approach earns its keep the moment you start repeating yourself. 10 videos that all need a matching title, a weekly chart, or a whole series of lower thirds. That is when handwork turns into a grind and starts drifting out of sync. The rule of thumb is simple. Make it by hand once. The second time you find yourself doing the same thing again, that is your signal to turn it into a recipe. A quick word on speed. Because people worry that three-dimensional software must be slow, this program has more than one rendering engine inside it. One is built for slow, photoreal perfection, the kind you would use for a movie. But the other is built for speed, and it is the one you want for motion graphics. For flat and depth style graphics, it is more than good enough, and it spits out frames in seconds rather than minutes. So you get that clean, glowing, professional look without the long waits people associate with three-dimensional. Fast engine, quick results, and it is still completely free. So how do you actually start without getting overwhelmed? The honest truth is that this program looks intimidating the first time you open it because it shows you everything at once. The trick is to ignore the vast majority of it. You do not need the three-dimensional modeling tools, the sculpting, the physics, any of that. Open one of the simpler, flat workspaces and just follow a single template, copying it step by step. Give it one focused afternoon. Stay on the friendly end of the dial, and you will have something you are proud of before the day is over. So here is your assignment. Do not try to build your whole brand in one sitting. Pick the single simplest thing on this list, an animated title card, and just make that one. Get it looking the way you want by hand this week. Then, once it works, turn it into a recipe so you never freeze. Have to build it from scratch again. That is the whole journey in miniature. One animation, then a recipe, then a production line. The tool is free. It runs on the machine in front of you right now, and it quietly powers a huge amount of the polished work you admire. There is nothing left to wait for. Go make